Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Asina TV podcast for Legion, Season 2, Episode 6, Chapter 14. I'm your host, Clea, and with me I have Jake.
Hi.
Oh! How do we talk about this episode?
I think we should just talk about it scene by scene.
Yeah, dive in.
So there was a David, but then there was another David, but they weren't David.
There's Rich David, Homeless David, Milk David, I guess we can call him.
You know, I just prefer, I mean, this pencil pusher David, what I call him, with the funny haircut.
And is that the one with the dancing mouse? The singing mouse?
Yes.
Yes. I think that one was my favorite.
These look like, out of context, these scenes look like they're from different shows.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I think I've seen enough of the show to, say, if you watch, if you take, a still from, any of the other episodes, you're like, oh, that's from Legion. This one, it's like, is that from The Office? I don't know.
Yeah, because he's in, this basement office surrounded by filing cabinets. You know, reminded me of Office Space when they banished that guy to the basement instead of firing him.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened.
Maybe. We don't get much of that one. Just him in the office with the mouse.
Yeah, the mouse. I guess we could start with Homeless David.
Yeah. He did some stuff we haven't really seen David do before, but if it's to be believed that these are alternate dimension versions of David, that David it's possible for him to do that. Like that. Making everyone disappear on the street.
I guess so, because, I mean, these are this reminds me of Bioshock Infinite, if anyone has played that game, where every decision you make creates another version of yourself and another reality. Mm-hmm. And in each of those is the consequence of a different decision that you made. Mm-hmm. So interesting in that game, where every time you die, the reason why you die is because you made a wrong decision, and that's why you go back. So I was thinking about it kind of like that. I mean, but even in that game, it fucking confused me. So no. But
the game was trippy.
Yeah, but
so was the first Bioshock.
Yes, it was, for different reasons.
Yes.
And we need to do I vote we do a bullshit podcast solely based on the Bioshock series.
I would love that, yeah.
But we're talking about Legion.
I have to crack those games open again.
Yeah.
Just to refresh.
All of them. All DLCs as well. That were actually pretty good. And Bioshock 2 was good.
Exactly. I would have to play 2. 2 is the only... Well, I didn't play Infinite, but I know the entire thing. So anyway. We're not talking about Bioshock. But yeah, and we were going through all of these, and I'm like, are these really different paths David's life could have taken? Or are these things that David has hallucinated before?
Or is this the Butter King, fucking with our minds again?
There you go. Because he was on the street, and I thought I was free of him. And then he was across the street, and I was like, nope! Nope! I'm out! Goodbye, I'm leaving my own house.
Can you imagine exiting the subway?
No.
You're on the escalator. Butter King!
No. The dark street. I have traversed many shady streets in my time. In the middle of the night. It's not fun. I've even had a crazy person in the middle of the night run straight at me, which is not fun.
Well, I have... Homeless David here reminds me... It's kind of endearing, because Homeless David reminds me of a homeless man, a homeless senile old man, who gave me some great advice once, actually, while I was waiting at a bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget these words. He said to me, if you drink, you smoke. If you smoke, you do coke. If you do coke, you go to jail. And I took those words of the senile homeless man to heart.
Yeah, because your vices can spiral. It's very easy.
So
I am
myself,
not an alcoholic, but I have at times been like, if I let this go, I can see myself being an alcoholic.
I find myself connecting well with homeless David
Yeah.
because of that homeless man that I met once. He's probably, dead in some shop window somewhere.
I think I connected with Milk David because I too know the mind numbingness of moving boxes all day.
Mm.
That one was sad. Cause you really saw Amy in that one. How
Amy.
they were living together. She was taking care of him. It was pretty sad.
I'm just glad we're seeing Amy again.
Mm-hmm.
Not the way I want.
No, I know. And unfortunately, I have a bad feeling we will see Amy in the future, but it's not going to be
Please stop.
Amy.
Stop. Can't do it.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I have that bad feeling where we're gonna see her face again and it's gonna be not Amy, and then we're all gonna be sad.
I mean, Amy is just so Amy and down to earth, and she's a great sister, and probably I don't know how she is as a wife. We don't see her husband ever,
No, we've really never seen him.
if he exists.
He does exist, though. I wish I had clicked on the article, but I saw it before I watched the episode. It was an article on this episode of Legion. And I'm afraid to look it up now, because I think it's gonna take up too much time. Oh yeah, no, there it is. Anyway, I'll bring it up later. But God, these. Oh yeah, and then there was Crazy David. Was Crazy David the same as Homeless David, the one with the French fries?
I think it's different.
Different, yeah. Because I mean, there are so many. He was like, and branches and branches and branches and branches, and yeah, every decision goes crazy. And so it's a lot. It ends up being a lot.
I do want to go back to, I guess, businessman boardroom David.
Ooh, Rich David?
Yeah.
That one was very interesting.
Well, maybe not rich, maybe like upper middle class or lower upper class.
Well, when he started, yeah, because he was fetching everybody coffee. But I think that's the same one where he's standing on the balcony in this rich ass fucking mansion, and he's being a dick to Amy, which
and I didn't like it. No, I feel like Amy was that sister, like the older sister who would like stop all the children, be teaching the children. She's like, everyone, stop! I'm your babysitter. Go to your rooms. And I feel like she would do that with grown ass David if she, lived with grown ass David. Mm. She's like, I'm not having your shit, okay? Like, I don't care who is your father. I don't care what powers you have. Like, no, you're going to your room. And he'd be like, okay. I do like, we see this David using his powers to, like, get ahead. And I don't like that, which made me not like this David. Well, I didn't like this David because of that, and also just because of how he treated Amy. I don't like that. Yeah. I like seeing these different like versions of David to be like, oh, I like that one. Like, I hate you, but like it's all the same person. But it just goes to show that your decisions and all the actions that you take make you the person that you are. And it was interesting to see all these different people that David could possibly become, depending on the life choices that he made. How he became homeless.
And And I'm wondering if every one of them had Farouk in his head.
I think they all did. But I think the David, main David, I guess. I think sending him to the institution, I don't think that helped because he was, because like he believed that there were voices in his head, and to everybody else, they're like, oh, well, you have schizophrenia and you got to go to this place. But he wasn't wrong. So we couldn't have known that, of course, but like he wasn't wrong. Like there were voices in his head, and I don't think the medications that they gave to him, like all the therapy that he got, wasn't helping that, which I think made the voices in his head worse.
Yeah.
Maybe these other Davids had Farouk in his head, but they just went about handling it differently. And I guess like Rich David found a way to like ignore the Butterking.
Maybe he embraced him.
Or that too. That's scary.
Which is scarier.
I feel like the Butter King doesn't care about money though.
No, but it is interesting to think, like, what does he actually care about? Because he went, last episode, I think it was last episode, he went on about power. So, I don't know.
I do like this little commentary on mental illness. This show, in my opinion, portrays mental illness well.
Yes.
As someone who, at least as far as I know, as someone who is mentally healthy, I don't know what it's like to have mental illness. But I think this show paints a certain picture to where it's like, oh my God, I get it. Like, I haven't experienced what other people like who have experienced, but I think this show helps me understand what it is they're feeling and what things are like going on in their head. So I like when this show tackles issues like that. David preaching about like overprescriptions, people like prescribing drugs that people may or may not actually need.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately it happens, I've seen it happen, where doctors either misdiagnose patients, whether they be humans or animals, misdiagnose them. At times, misdiagnosing them saying they're going to be fine, and it turns out they have, a deadly disease, or they diagnose your dog with a deadly disease, and it turns out they never had it in the first place. The drugs that they take to help them with that do not help what it is they actually have. And then there are times where maybe the doctors give, and I have also seen this happen, where doctors have given patients
psychotics?
Antipsychotics when they really need antidepressants.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah,
So good on you, Ethan.
Yeah, it does happen.
I do like this. I do, and I like to point out that David is mentally ill.
Yeah.
Because at first, it was Butter King in his head, but it was making him mentally ill. And I like that they
don't say either, like, which came first. I kind of like that. Because he could have been mentally ill anyway without the Butter King ever doing anything.
I do remember in season 1 him saying that David said, at first I wasn't sick, but then the Butter King made me sick, if I'm remembering that correctly. But maybe it was already there. I do like that they directly to the audience say, look, David is mentally ill, but there's also like this, fucking buttery ass parasite in his head.
Yeah.
And I like how they don't because this bothers me a lot with like certain pieces of work, and especially like Alice in Wonderland, continuations or like spin-offs
Mm-hmm.
where they try to like glorify and like romanticize mental illness,
Mm.
and I don't like that. It's like, oh, like you're not well in the head, but that's fine. It's beautiful, and like you don't have to change anything. No, take your medicine. If
Yeah. Like, you are fine and you are beautiful, but medicine's gonna help
like
you.
get the help.
It's also not going to change who you are. The medicine. It is going to help you live your life.
But I like how they say here, it's like
Yeah.
the medicine they're giving me isn't helping me.
Yeah, and I mean, I like that because a lot of on the other side of the spectrum, a lot of media will say, "Oh, this character's crazy," and then it's like, "Surprise! You're from a magical land. You're not actually crazy," and then that person actually never had any mental illness.
Like,
Whereas this one's like, "Yeah, you have powers, but you are also crazy."
and also on the other side of that, where they portray mentally ill people as psychotic and dangerous. That does happen. Unfortunately, that does happen, but that's not all mentally ill
Mm-hmm.
patients. Some are, some don't try to kill people,
Yeah.
which is why, like, I see people complaining about, like, the portrayal of mental patients in like horror movies and stuff. Where like I do make the argument that like there are people like that, and that is scary, and so it makes for an interesting background for a horror movie. But yeah, then again, I do see where they're coming from. Not all mental patients, want to steal your teeth and wear them. So
Yeah.
just both. I like how this show was like there's like it's in the middle. It's right there. It's like, hey, like, yeah, you're fine, you're beautiful, we love you, but get help if you need it.
Yeah. Exactly. um. God, I was having a lot of trouble dealing with Carrie in this
Oh,
episode.
Carrie.
She rolls up and cuts David in half. And I didn't know what to do with myself.
See, I don't Carrie, Lady Carrie. Um, I don't see her doing this type of thing. So like, there's a lot of points in the show where like some characters act out of character, but it's not because they're not them, or like some weird
Yeah.
hullabaloo that happens every episode where it causes characters to act a certain way.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I need to get used to it. But like just seeing certain characters act out of their usual characters is strange to me, but like really should not come as a surprise. I mean, we've seen like fucking 80 Davids in this episode, so
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a Carrie that is different than the one we know. But I mean, still not so different. Because we've seen Carrie, our Carrie, we've seen her kill people. But they were always on the other side. And in this case, David was on the other side.
yeah, but it's still David, so it's kind of weird.
I know.
We got like some like season 1 flashbacks.
Yes, with the extension cord and stuff I didn't like.
Yeah.
With the Butter King in the background. I'm just like, no, please stop. That's okay. I don't need this.
I remember when I was more terrified of the Butter King back then, just because I didn't know what he was. So I'm like, what's this pile of lard doing in the corner? Why doesn't he have legs?
Oh, he had the tiniest legs. Oh, so creepy.
The chicken legs with
And
the
he's got those gross eyes. Just still freaks me out.
at the time with the tongue and the no.
Ugh. Yeah, no, we got some of that. And not only that, we got from him as a child, screaming in the rain, and then when he's in the back of the cop car after he
Yeah.
trashed.
That.
Yeah, so we did see some from season 1, and then
I-
the episode, wraps up with them showing us for Oliver Farouk putting Lenny into Amy, and then David freaking out.
Mm.
That's where we ended. We ended in the same spot we ended last week, and I'm upset.
I am upset. I'm upset because the show was so good.
Yeah.
It's making me feel things.
It's making me, yeah, exactly. It's making me feel things. I don't know, man. This was, I find it curious also in this episode that we didn't get the narrator. It's only 2 episodes this season where we didn't get the narrator. It's this one where we explored all of the different Davids, and then Sydney's episode where David was going through her memories.
Yeah, and the mazes and the things and the overcomplicated answers and
yeah.
I miss. I like to go back to those mazes. This kind of had like a similar premise, not directly the mazes, but I do like the mazes, and I do like these kinds of episodes where we see alternate versions of our characters. But also, I thought this could have been like a great way, unless we're getting like something like this later in the season. This could have been a great way to like flesh out like some of David's childhood memories. Like, why were you in the back of a cop car? What happened?
Oh yeah, I mean, they might. We're halfway through the season. They might still touch on that stuff.
You and Amy playing with your dog, your fucking evil demon dog.
Yeah, seriously. Was that dog real or was?
No, I remember
Okay.
Like, I remember David like remembering. He's like, "Oh yeah, my dog King," and then Amy be like, at the episode we found out that the Butter King was the dog. Amy was like, "But we don't have a dog,"
Yeah.
or like we didn't have a dog or something like that.
We didn't have a dog. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, that's kind of it for this episode.
These episodes have been pretty straightforward, but like not simple in the slightest.
They've been like straightforward fever dreams, really. Is what they are.
I will say this episode didn't make me like have an existential crisis like the other ones did.
No, that's true. Because it's explaining multiverse theory, which, as fans of comic books and sci-fi and stuff, it's not new. So, like, maybe if it wasn't a genre I'm very familiar with, maybe it would have given me an existential crisis.
I mean, I don't read a lot of comics that explore that, but I have read Marvel comics, so like you're going to run into it. Then there was that. Have you read that weird run of Marvel where like everything happened like 300 years prior?
Actually, no, I have not.
That one's actually it's weird. It's like all our heroes, but like if all the events of like the Marvel universe happened 300
years ago.
And it's weird. It's like there's a Steve Rogers. It's like a Native American warrior.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
But it turns out he's not from that time. He's actually the real Steve Rogers from like the current Marvel universe. And like Nick Fury sent him back to do something, and then he doesn't want to go back. He's like, no, but I can stop the white oppression over the natives, and like we can stop McCarthyism. It's gonna be great. But then like Nick Fury like tricks him into going back, and he's like, no.
Oh wow. That is crazy. That I haven't heard of. But I read the Infinite Crisis and Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is the DC stuff. And that's some multiverse shit. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's this weird. I don't know if you play any of the Lego Marvel games.
No, I don't.
But this most recent Lego Marvel game, I think it's just called Lego Marvel Superheroes 2, where you are different Marvel characters and you go to the different universes, and there's one where you team up with Noir Spider-Man. And then he's like, "What's?" And then like I think you're playing as Star Lord, and he's like, "What's with the suit?" And he's like, "I'll tell you that later."
I am a fan of the Lego stuff. I don't watch enough of it.
Look that up because it's actually hilarious. They go back to the Wild West with Wild Captain America.
Amazing. So, next episode of Legion is chapter 15. A delusion starts like any other idea, but ends in disaster.
I think that's the most words we had.
I think so too. It's like a full sentence.
Read that again.
A delusion starts like any other idea, but ends in disaster.
Okay, so someone had this idea for an invention, and the invention was invisible sandwich, and where you're eating a sandwich, everyone else just thinks you're crazy. And then they had trouble with the invisible machine, and then they made the sun disappear, so people start freaking out because there's no sun, but the sun is there. And then so they need a psychiatrist for like everyone in the city, and then like everyone just like goes batshit. That's what I gathered from that.
Nice. Invisible nap would be the best nap of all time. No one should have that power. No, but this sentence, delusion starts as like an idea, and all I can think of now is the egg, because that's episode 1. What the narrator was talking about. An idea starts as an egg, and it can. That's like a theme. Ideas and this. The slug chicken, and it's like I feel like it all fits somehow, and I just don't know how.
Yeah, still with this Paltra giant chicken at the end of Jimmy Neutron thing. I'm still waiting for that.
Yes, I agree. That's probably gonna happen.
Hey, Cleo, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
I feel like you're setting me up for that Jimmy Neutron joke, and I can't remember it.
No, like
No?
I'm legit asking, like, what do you think came first? Because I actually figured out the answer to this, and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I think of that before? Because I was thinking about it. Okay.
The
After
egg,
watching
because the creature that laid the first chicken egg was not the same as the chicken. The chicken evolved, so the egg is. Wait, hold on. Shit, no, I talked myself into a circle and I got confused.
Okay. No, after watching Jurassic Park, I figured it out. The egg came first because dinosaurs came first, and dinosaurs laid eggs.
Okay. There is an actual answer, and it has to do with mutations and evolutions, and I can never keep it straight whenever anyone asks me, but I kind of know it.
No, but that's basically it. The dinosaurs came first before chickens, and dinosaurs laid eggs, so the egg came first.
Oh, I see. Yes. If we're talking about broad spectrum, not just chicken eggs. Gotcha.
But dinosaurs are members of the bird family, and therefore they did not roar. They might. I don't know. We weren't there.
That's true. Anyway, Jake, where can the people find you now that we're done talking about eggs?
We can talk about Jurassic Park all day, but Jurassic Park 2 coming out. Go watch it. Find me and all of my Ghouls and Gore and Monsters and Mayhem on Twitter. Tweet me throughout 3 That's a Life at ToNorland. That's TONOWTRELAND. Join the Norland Society. Come watch Jurassic Park 2 with me because nobody wants to go because they think it's going to be terrible.
You can find me at Cleomoto on the socials. No, excuse me, and on Etsy at Cleomoto Crafts, where I make things like Disney princess crowns and hopefully wizard hats again soon. And you can find all of us at ASO TV Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Google+, and right here on YouTube and or Twitch. Follow us for some more podcasts that we do about TV shows and things that you may or may not watch.
And then Jurassic Park.
And then Jurassic Park we may or may not.
Then I was realizing.
Jurassic World, isn't it?
Yeah, I had just realized what I said. I said Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World. But Jurassic Park 2 already came out and it was terrible.
Which one was 2? No, I like 2.
No, I like 3 better. So 2 was the one where they go to the island where like the baby dinosaurs are, and then like they capture like a T-Rex, and then it's in the city, and
yeah. That was weird. I'll give you that. That part I didn't like. But I liked Jeff Goldblum and his kid. They were cute.
I mean, no, I like Jurassic Park 3 better just because it had cooler scenes and it had that cool like bird cage with all the pterodactyls.
Yeah, the bird cage was fucking dope.